let's get to the Colin Kaepernick stuff.
Oh my God.
So Colin Kaepernick's Netflix special released, and a particular clip. We got a clip from it, and I'll let the clip speak for itself, and then we'll get into it. So go ahead and play the clip, Ian.
What they don't want you to understand is what's being established is a power dynamic.
Yeah, he's playing. Can you not see?
No, I can see it. No, I'm asking if he's playing football right now.
Oh, no, he's not playing football.
Teams poke,
That makes a lot of sense.
and examine you, searching for any defect that might affect your performance. No boundary respected. No dignity left intact.
Man, hey, yo, turn this shit off, bro. Turn this shit off, bro.
Nah, man. Force it to the end. We gotta watch it all.
God,
We have a
turn this
complete
shit
opinion.
Play it.
Mr. Farm, I got your bid. 30, James, 30 to you. 100. So, next one coming up, best one we got. 500, 600. Right here. Look at this here. Come on, who wants this? 700. There we go now. Look down. Look down. I'm telling you what I want.
If they want this to be accurate, they got to add one white slave, a couple of Spanish slaves. Right?
Yeah.
Because there's other players in the NFL than black players, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, that's fucked up, man. It's all black people.
So the white
That's
ones
it.
don't get measured. Their hops don't get tested. Their run speeds don't get tested, right? Only the black players.
Asians play
do.
too, though. You forgot to mention the Asians.
The Hawaiian, there's a large Samoan
Samoans,
population
there
in
you go.
the NFL, and they don't get measured. Only the black people do. Now, if that's the part that makes it slavery, now see, this is the thing. I hate shit like this because this nigga here said you get poke prodded every question. I agree with that. They do ask you questions that have nothing to do with football during the draft process. You ever thought about suicide? You ever had any sexual thoughts about another man? Like literally the most random shit is asked during those interviews.
The suicide one, I guess, makes sense. They're trying to do a mental health check, but
I mean, if it's just a job, is that a thing that's a basis for every job or not? That's the gray area type shit.
Trying to cover
I
liability.
guess.
But I
could come into my office and go crazy. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you know. so I get what the thing is, but anytime you compare professional athletes to slaves, it is the wrong comparison to make. It's not the slavery was not a choice. As I know Kanye got y'all confused, but slavery was not a choice. These people are training their whole life. And guess what? Slavery, yeah, it wasn't the whole world wasn't slaves at the same time. And da-da-da-da-da. You know how very few people make it into the NFL? The select few people that make it to the NBA. Select few people that make it into any sports. It's the elite of the elite.
Slavery wasn't a select few either.
And let me tell you something about elite of elite.
It was a specific few, and it was quite a percentage of the few.
Like, the best cotton picker did not get treated better than the worst cotton pick. Like, it wasn't like this nigga doing 3 barrels a day. You in the house with me sipping Kool-Aid. It wasn't nothing like that. So for you to, there's a clear difference between being an athlete and a slave. And for him, I get when people who don't play sports or people who aren't into sports make that analogy. For him to have played the sport, gotten the contracts, made the money, and this isn't about him kneeling. This has nothing to do with him kneeling. This is literally about him comparing NFL to slavery. That means soccer players.
I think it was the draft specifically. I did bring up an article, and apparently the whole point was about the draft, I think specifically.
Because they want to see if you. But you're. So, okay. No. Okay, boom. That's like and this is the most dirty analogy I can even think of, so God forgive me. That's like me going to a fucking whorehouse, right? And I'm in a whorehouse, and they're like, all right, the bitch will be right here. And I'm like, can I see her? No. You get what you get. But I'm paying. I want to see which one I want to pick. No. You get what you get. If I'm there for purely matters of the flesh and physical purpose, and that is what I'm paying for, why do I not get to know the things that would make you either more valuable or less valuable? For example, if you really want to talk about slavery and compare it to sports, soccer players are sold. Soccer players are sold. Literally, you buy the player, then you negotiate their wages. Then you do that shit with their agent. Before you can even talk to the player, guess what you have to do? Buy them from the team that owns them. So for you to say the NFL is slave, the draft is slave, no. Guess what happens when you
You
get
gotta take
bought
it
as
all
a,
the way if you're gonna do that.
guess what happens when you get bought as a soccer player? You get flown in, not to your medical lab at the team you're currently at, the team you're going to. You have to pass the physical before the transfer can be completed. Is
It's also
that
an industry
slavery?
that completely relies on meritocracy. Like, you have to be the best to be in the position that you want, and people want the best for it. To be like, oh well, we're only buying for a select quota. Once you start doing it like that, like all of a sudden it's not dynamic like competition anymore. It's not really sports to that extent. It's just, yeah, we're just meeting quotas for public opinion. And I think the whole thing falls apart. Then it's not even competitive at that point.
At all. Draft me first. We ain't never seen you throw the ball. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but you don't have a Mexican, so
Don't worry
you need
about it.
me.
Just
Like,
trust me. I can throw that shit. Huh?
I think this just comes down to, I don't want to necessarily, because I agree with everything you said, but I don't really want to focus on the terrible example or comparison of the NFL to slavery. I want to more focus on the fact that I think this just comes from a disingenuous place of wanting to be an activist. Because we grew up learning, in his particular context, because he's focusing on, Black America and Black rights and all that stuff. There have been very prominent names when it comes to the civil rights, the advancement of the Black American civil rights, to the point where they're idolized. And now we've
We
realized,
talked about this last week when we monetized activism.
yeah, that's honestly
I'm
it. I
bringing
think
it
he's out
back
of
to that.
money.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We've
I think he's out
monetized
of money. That's
activism,
why I
and now
asked
he's trying to
you if,
become
like, he's
an
still playing.
activist to gain financial earnings because he wasn't able to financially earn in the NFL. No team wants him. Sorry, Doc, what were you saying?
Well, I was just saying that, like, that's why I asked at the beginning before the video started if he's still playing, because I need to know if he needs money right now or not.
Let me be
And if
clear.
he's not playing and this is his income now, well, then that makes total sense.
And him thinking this would have been a viable campaign ad or activist ad or whatever his goal with this ad was, would have been something lucrative because you have to do this because he put money into this, obviously. Other people put money into this Netflix special.
Let me
that
be
this
clear.
would have been a lucrative thing to do.
Kaepernick does not need the money. No, he signed a $20 million deal with Nike.
Yeah, I was about to say
he's well off.
I think
Two,
net
I
worth is
agree
30
with
million?
the point. Yeah, I agree with the. First off, he
could
didn't
be
put
wrong.
any money into this Netflix series. Anybody would have done it for free for Kaepernick because there's some draw to it.
Activism is lucrative now. Like you said, there's a market for it.
Is a market for it. I do agree that part of his intentions with his activism is to gain a clout level that makes his value more as far as negotiating power when it comes to like Netflix specials and all those type of things. I agree with that. But 3, he was blackballed out the NFL because of kneeling. I'm not all of that shit true. Point blank. 32 there were not 32 quarterbacks better than Kaepernick when he last played. That's a fact. He wasn't the best. That's also a fact. But the fact that the NFL, and this is on him too, NFL paid him, and part of the payment was a non-disclosure on what was found during investigations on the blackballing, as far as contacts between the owners, head coaches, GMs. Now, if there was something they didn't want us to find, that would be not necessary. They didn't pay him for blackballing him. They paid him to not release what was found. And I blame Cap for accepting that payment because now we don't know. And now we get to operate on half-truths. But those things are facts. He's doing this shit for clout. That's a fact.
Because okay, then with that context, and maybe his whole point here is to show how I guess some owners or the owners or people in NFL are racist, not necessarily the NFL as a whole is racist, and that's why like
boom, like if it's like a girl who or not, God forgive me, it's like any person who's been hurt in a relationship who feels, oh, from now on I'm just gonna be expecting the same thing, and so like I'll say this, I don't feel like the whole NFL is racist. I just don't believe that to be true. But I will say it's always concerning when a power or anything like that makes a concerted effort to hide something. So I get that. But like I say, it's context. Just because you're right about 10% of something or 20% of something doesn't mean you're right about everything. And you just get to go preaching and be right about everything. Like sit back, like this, man. And then this is something, just that clip is something I know a specific group of people would want to see that he was pandering to. Like, yeah, finally somebody who said it. Yeah. I've seen this debate on the More Than Athlete podcast with the girl. There's a girl who's talking to former NFL athletes. It's Brandon Marshall, Chad Johnson, and the running back from Jacksonville, I forget his name, and another guy. And she's saying that NFL players are the same as strippers. Explain why that NFL players are better than strippers, and that NFL is slavery. And those men are literally defending like what do you mean is slavery? Like, do you get bonuses in slavery? Like, you picked a certain amount of cotton, you got like where was the did you have generational wealth?
Does she
with
think? Hold on,
slavery?
well, let's take it to the other side. Was she trying to say stripping is slavery?
She was saying that
Was she comparing stripping and being a
no, she was actually
NFL
saying
player
a
or
stripper
slavery
is more
to NFL player and stripping?
She was saying a stripper is more independent than an NFL player because they're somehow she rationalized it that an NFL player is stuck to their contract and the owner and da, whereas a stripper is almost like an independent contractor, if you will, because they make their own schedule.
I find that hard to accept just because of the fact that like you make more money than 80% of the population, even just off of
Tim
a year
Tebow,
of playing, like rookie year or something like that. Within that year, you're gonna make a salary that's more than 80% of the population will in 5 years.
Boom.
And so it's hard to argue that. And so to an extent, I do see where there's a point where they're just like super soldiers and they're being like, we're seeing all of this like crazy like measurement and stuff like that. And it's like you have to play for this. At the same time, there is a leeway with the amount of money they gave you. It's just like, yeah, like I have to do this because of just how much weight that much money cost. I'm sure if they lowered their salaries, then they'd be like, yeah, sure, you can come and go whenever you want. That's fine. But I bet you NFL players would start being like, whoa, 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 why are you taking my money away? Like,
And
what the hell's going on with that?
There's an obvious power dynamic.
Well, there's an obvious point that Ethan made. Tim Tebow, he got blackballed when he did the whole religious expression on the field.
Okay, Ethan, I agree with you. That's why I pointed. But did he? Because Tim Tebow came back and got tried. He was on the Jacksonville roster as a tight end. Now, let me tell you something. If you weren't that good as a quarterback,
Makes you going to be good at tight end.
at 35, so he can't, no, not 35, 32 or 33. So he came back as a tight end and was given an opportunity to make an NFL team at 32 in a position that he never played before in his life. That's just not blackballing to me. Like, I agree he's ostracized.
Kind of with Kaepernick, like they let him do the draft again.
Well, yeah, they did let him do that, but remember he like forced them to meet him on his field at his time when like all these teams had asked him to come out to train with them and stuff like that, and he wanted to make a spectacle out of it. There was like a news crew there or something like that he wanted to record his draft on.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but there's still some context missing there. And I'm sorry. It seems like I'm really not defending this nigga. So I just
you
have
honestly
to
hate when you have to defend this
yeah.
guy.
I just have to add the context though, is because what they offered him was a couple of teams to go look at him, right? Tim Tebow was placed on a team, brought straight to Jacksonville. Before he came, bro, look it up. He played maybe like 15 snaps. Remember, he was behind what's his name before he transferred to Florida, and became and got the QB job. And he never really got that QB job. He won the Heisman, but he kind of like was still like a kind of backup quarterback. But he was not good. The tape is out there. He couldn't block worth of shit. Couldn't catch worth of shit. Like, it was just a PR stunt. But it was a more marketable PR stunt. See, this is the thing. It's not about Tim Tebow being white and Kaepernick being black. So, Ethan, that's not the point that I'm trying to prove. I'm saying when you make the NFL look bad, and he made the NFL look bad because he forced them in a position where they had to make a moral decision, or that was
It forced them to take a stance, and the
on
stance
something
they had
that
to take had to benefit the company, not you.
Exactly. And so when they were forced to take the stance, they were one of the first organizations prior to all this woke bullshit that was forced to take a stance. And their PR team was probably fucking scratching their hair out, not knowing, we don't know how society's going to react. We don't know which way things would go, what history's going to tell us. We don't know. So they were forced to deal with that. So it had less to do with, I'm not saying it had nothing to do with him being black, but it had less to do with him being black and more of he put them in that position and we just can't reward you for that. Whereas Tim Tebow didn't put them in any type of position. He was just...
And it kind of sparked a trickle-down effect, too, because of his kneeling.
Yeah, boom. And
what was Tebow's thing? He kneeled, like, after he scored or something like that? Or before the game?
Tim
like,
Tebow?
Yeah, what was his
Oh,
his
he was just
thing?
super Christian, super good guy. Like, people just didn't... People felt like Tim Tebow was fake.
Specific action, like he's saying during one of the games, he, like, knelt and did a prayer.
Oh, yeah, he prayed.
Yeah.
He
prayed. I remember he did something, like, visibly that people were like, oh, why would you do that? Keep religion out of my game.
Yeah,
And
like he's just super
I don't
religious.
remember it.
Like,
But I do agree with that like his marketing or Team Tebow's offenses, I guess, in technical like marketing value and stuff like that, and as far as embarrassing the NFL was far less than Kaepernick, because didn't Kaepernick like directly go against the flag?
100%.
Yeah, where
Well, that's
Tebow just kind of like
debatable.
Well, not the flag, but I get what you're
like
I get your point.
Like, yeah, like he didn't like upset anything outside of him just like taking some time to himself to pray. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he didn't kind of go against the grain in any
It
way.
wasn't him
Where
really taking a
Kaepernick did
stance. It was just
actively.
him expressing himself religiously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think
then-
that's the key detail as to why they were just like, all right, we're just gonna move him over.
And then if you're the NFL, I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but if you're in the NFL and Cap is kneeling about black kids being shot by the police or whatever, black kids being shot by the police, they're like, what the fuck? I wasn't shooting nobody. I know the NFL is like, bro, like, damn, we not shooting kids. Like, damn, like, why we gotta? That's just the realm he chose.
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna end up in a future
Regardless
where
of
they're
play
just like,
game,
all right,
you
all
gotta
the
understand they're
uniforms are
going to
gray.
boot you.
Everyone's
If you do
fucking
something.
wearing a helmet. You
Exactly.
can't see nobody's face, so you don't know what color skin anybody is. Everything's neutral. We're just gonna play the game, and it's all gonna be neutral. Okay, go.
Like, dude, what is that? We're gonna play with the lights out? I completely
Right.
agree. It was about him hurting their brand, and so like that. But that's why I thought it would have been more interesting. Like if you, and I'm not saying race has nothing to do with it, but if you take the race out of it, what was the NFL trying to hide? And I feel like it would have been much more valuable to all NFL players. Fuck the race. Fuck the da da da. For example, John Gruden got fired
And it might
recently.
have been a race thing too.
But we don't know now because Kaepernick took that check. And so, like, John Gruden got fired, right, recently for some emails that were leaked where he called a black guy big-lipped something. He said that they should have kept a gay guy out of the NFL. He called the commissioner a pussy.
Wow.
All of these things, like, in a chain email, right? But they were investigating Washington because of allegations of sexual allegations or something like that, right? But John Gruden is the coach of Las Vegas Raiders. He loses his job. Nothing else comes out about the investigation in Washington. You get what I'm saying? the emails are 10 years old, from 2010 to 2018, but most of them are older. So what did they find that had nothing to do with John Gruden that they would offer him up that way? Because we didn't ask for the information to be released. They released it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So what? And that's why I'm like, whatever Kaepernick is on, fuck race. Whatever they're hiding in those emails that they're finding in these investigations that are going on is interesting. Period. So I just feel like that's my really biggest gripe with him. Other than that, and then he kneeled and then pump faked after the kneel and didn't do nothing like with the kneel. Like after
Try and do it now.
What, Netflix documentary, bro? Please don't let me get started on all this type of this Jussie Smollett activism.
Yo, you made it to the end. Really appreciate it. Thanks for watching Fake Deep Thinking. If you like the show, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and to share. We really appreciate everything and appreciate you. So take it easy. Peace.
Peace.
Have a good day.